Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started.
Throughout the annals of WWE history, some superstars are irrevocably linked together. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. Steve Austin and The Rock. Some feuds become so intense, so personal, that they wind up defining an entire era in the world of professional wrestling. Today, USA Insider is placing the rivalry between Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens under the microscope. Two different superstars, two very different journeys. It's eye-opening to think about how much fate played a part in creating one of the most intense rivalries in WWE history. To the typical member of the WWE Universe, Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens would seem like their paths would never cross. After all, their debuts in WWE couldn't be less similar. Debuting on the main roster in 2012, after a short stint in NXT, as part of the legendary faction known as The Shield, fans and critics alike correctly pointed at Roman Reigns as the eventual future of WWE. While Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose are arguably just as capable stars, Reigns was being seen as the next great WWE superstar by management and fans alike. The Shield were given high-profile matches against some of the top talent in the industry, and their collective star power was so impactful that all three men rose up the ranks in WWE at lightning speed. However, for Roman Reigns, his ascension to the top of the company wasn't a matter of if, but when. On the other hand, Kevin Owens wasn't exactly anointed as the company's future upon arrival. After years of honing his craft as an independent wrestler, Owens made his NXT debut in late 2014 and quickly captured the NXT Championship. His grit, toughness, and jaw-dropping moves catapulted him quickly to the Monday Night Raw roster, capturing the Intercontinental title in 2015. In fact, in the eyes of many members of the WWE Universe, 2015 was when the Reigns/Owens rivalry was first ignited. Like Bret vs. Shawn in 1992, sometimes the most classic rivalries in history begin innocuously over a bout featuring the WWE Intercontinental Championship. SmackDown hosted a match featuring the two men going head-to-head for a championship for the first time. In 2015, the stakes were relatively low. The two superstars hadn't yet engaged in the bitter grudges that would define their relationship later in their careers. In what was typical for Kevin Owens in 2015, the prizefighter saw the writing on the wall during this Intercontinental Championship bout. He realized he was no match physically for the larger and more imposing Reigns. So he walked away, taking a count-out loss but keeping his newfound title. This first championship meeting did not indicate the future fights they would have inside the ring, but it served as a precursor to something greater. As fate would have it, both superstars found themselves at the top of the WWE pecking order by 2017, where they would once again repeatedly butt heads. 2017, the initial clash over the Universal Championship. What a difference a few years makes. While just 2 years earlier, Reigns and Owens were competing in a low-stakes match for the Intercontinental Championship, it's a stark contrast to 2017 when they found themselves suddenly competing for one of the top titles in all of professional wrestling. Although their desire to be the best of the best fueled their aspirations, their battle over Kevin Owens' Universal Championship still seemed to be missing the inner bitterness that turns feuds legendary. In the ring, however, they never disappointed the WWE Universe. In the end, Kevin Owens enjoyed a lengthy Universal title reign that spanned nearly 200 days, and Roman Reigns constantly found himself coming up short of dethroning his rival. It took a returning WWE Hall of Famer, the legendary Goldberg, stepping up and doing what Roman Reigns couldn't, take the Universal Championship away from Owens. At this point in their careers, the two men drifted apart. Kevin Owens became embroiled in feuds with Chris Jericho and his longtime best friend/enemy Sami Zayn, while Roman Reigns collided with the biggest and best names WWE had to offer on his way to reaching the pinnacle of his career. 2020, the rivalry becomes exceedingly personal. In a way, fans can argue that Roman Reigns used his failures against Kevin Owens to motivate him for greatness. After all, he attained his most tremendous success in WWE after consistently failing to wrest the Universal title away from Owens. As is typical for any elite WWE superstar, major title shots always seem to come your way. Once again, Kevin Owens found himself as the top challenge for the Universal Championship, a title that, by 2020, was held by Roman Reigns, who won the title in his first match back since being diagnosed with leukemia. However, as Kevin Owens soon learned, Roman Reigns was a completely different beast. This time, the bloodline had his back, and his flesh and blood proved they would do anything to keep the Universal Championship around Reigns' waist. After falling short against Reigns at TLC 2020, thanks to timely interference by Jey Uso, the rivalry between the two men went to another level. For the first time in WWE, their feud wasn't based on who was the better man. Instead, the WWE Universe realized it was Kevin Owens against the entire Anoa'i family. It wasn't a fair fight, but Owens never stopped fighting. By Royal Rumble 2021, the war of words reached a boiling point. After weeks of Owens passionately raging against the machine known as the Bloodline, only to be met by the cool, calm, and deflective demeanor of the Tribal Chief, the two men had a showdown at the Royal Rumble in the form of a last man standing match. Of course, savvy fans know the drill by now. Roman Reigns has been untouchable. So while Kevin Owens looked to have the upper hand multiple times in the last man standing match, the writing was on the wall. Roman Reigns had already completed his transformation into a WWE version of Thanos. Owens had no chance. But even if he knew he had no chance, Kevin Owens never let Roman Reigns get too far out of his sight. 2023, the battle lines are drawn over blood and friendship. It's fitting that the only way for Kevin Owens to properly even the odds against Roman Reigns is to recruit some family of his own, although it took some time. At Royal Rumble 2023, Kevin Owens found himself in a familiar position. Once again, he was looking to usurp the mighty Roman Reigns, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. In the weeks leading up to this match, Owens let bygones be bygones and was constantly in the ear of Sami Zayn, who had found himself embraced by the Bloodline for the past year. However, Owens knew something that Sami Zayn didn't. Thanks to his endless rivalry with Reigns, he was privy to information that Zayn didn't. Roman Reigns couldn't be trusted, and Owens dedicated himself to educating his former friend about the true colors of the Tribal Chief. Unfortunately, Sami found out too late, and Kevin Owens once again found himself unable to defeat Reigns, in addition to being handcuffed to the ropes and brutalized. We all know what happened at the 2023 Royal Rumble. Sami Zayn finally saw the light, and for the first time in years, he and Kevin Owens were brothers again. But this time they had one common goal: revenge. Roman Reigns and the Bloodline drove them apart, but they were brought back together by the same forces. Today, the rivalry between Reigns and Owens can be defined by family. Whether you're blood or not, family is the only thing that matters, and it's the only thing more important than championships. While Owens is enjoying a much-deserved undisputed WWE Tag Team title reign, the undisputed WWE Universal Championship is still around Roman Reigns' waist. If history has told us anything, it's that these two superstars will find themselves squaring off once again in the future. Although we can't imagine the rivalry getting more intense than it has been, if anyone can find another reason to hate each other, it's Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. When you look back at the modern era of WWE, few rivalries feel as raw and organic as the ongoing saga between Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. Their paths have intertwined for nearly a decade, shaping not only each other's careers but also the entire landscape of WWE's main event scene. What makes their dynamic so magnetic is not just the matches or promos, but the underlying clash of personas. Reigns, the head of the table, self-anointed tribal chief, driven by legacy and bloodline, and Owens, the relentless everyman, fueled by grit, family, and defiance. Their first major collision course happened at the tail end of 2016. At that point, Roman Reigns was still trying to win over crowds as the heroic face of WWE, while Kevin Owens was the Universal Champion, an opportunist with Chris Jericho perched on his shoulder like a mischievous devil. Their feud culminated at the 2017 Royal Rumble in a no disqualification match for the Universal title. Chairs, tables, interference, nothing was off limits. It was chaotic, exactly the kind of fight that showcased both men's willingness to break themselves to break the other. Though Reigns lost that night thanks to Braun Strowman's surprise involvement, the seeds were planted. These two were destined to clash whenever the stakes were at their highest. Fast forward to late 2020, Roman Reigns had shed the remnants of his polarizing big dog persona. He had returned from his hiatus at SummerSlam with a new edge, aligning himself with Paul Heyman and declaring himself the Tribal Chief. This was not the Roman who pandered for cheers, this was a cold, calculating ruler demanding acknowledgement. Kevin Owens, meanwhile, was coming off a roller coaster run of feuds and was hungry to prove he still belonged at the top. Their rekindled feud on SmackDown was electric because it felt so real. Owens called Reigns out for hiding behind his family, for using fear to keep Jey Uso under his thumb. He didn't tiptoe around Reigns' aura, he punched through it. Their TLC match in December 2020 is still hailed as one of the best of Reigns' Universal title run. Owens threw himself into ladders and tables with reckless abandon, coming within inches of ending Reigns' reign multiple times, only to be undone by Jey Uso's constant interference. Even so, Owens never looked defeated in spirit, he kept coming back for more. That was the story of their rivalry in a nutshell. Reigns could overpower him physically, manipulate the battlefield with his family, but Owens would never give him the satisfaction of submission. Their last man standing match at Royal Rumble 2021 was a brutal testament to that. They brawled in the Thunderdome, using golf carts, forklifts, and anything they could find in the empty arena. Owens, battered and handcuffed, still found ways to crawl back to his feet. In the end, Reigns found a loophole, literally. He handcuffed Owens to a production pole, forcing the referee to count him out while Heyman scrambled to unlock Reigns when the tribal chief nearly lost by technicality. It was messy but symbolic. Reigns needed every trick in the book to put Owens down. What makes their feud timeless is how it taps into core truths about both men. Reigns embodies privilege and power, he's born into a dynasty, a generational talent blessed by the Anoa'i bloodline. Owens, in contrast, is the perennial underdog, the blue-collar fighter who doesn't care who you are or where you come from, he'll fight you all the same. It's a modern David versus Goliath, except David is just as mean, just as cunning, and arguably more stubborn. Their dynamic even affects the people around them. Look at Jey Uso, who was manipulated into beating Owens down time and again, torn between loyalty and conscience. Look at Sami Zayn, Owens' real-life best friend who would later get sucked into the Bloodline's orbit, fueling one of the most compelling WWE storylines in years. Owens and Reigns don't just fight each other, they ripple out and change the fates of everyone nearby. Their 2023 Royal Rumble clash was less about titles and more about heart. By then, the Sami Zayn drama had reached its peak. Owens stood as Sami's moral anchor, the voice reminding him that he deserved better than being Reigns' jester. In that match, Owens endured another savage beating at the hands of Reigns and the Bloodline, his wrists cuffed, helpless while Reigns demanded Sami finish the job. Instead, Sami snapped and struck Reigns with a steel chair, echoing Seth Rollins' infamous betrayal of the Shield years before. Owens' battered body was almost secondary, his spirit lit the fuse that would fracture the Bloodline's iron grip on WWE. Yet, even with their history, it always feels like there's more to tell. Their rivalry is never truly over because they represent opposite poles. Reigns is the institution, power, legacy, intimidation. Owens is the rebellion, heart, resistance, and brutal honesty. Whenever WWE needs a hero to test Reigns' reign, Owens is always believable because we know he'll never be cowed. Win or lose, he exposes the cracks in Reigns' armor, his reliance on family, manipulation, and Heyman's strategy. And maybe that's what keeps this story alive. Unlike many rivalries that fade when the belt changes hands, Reigns vs. Owens feels bigger than any championship. It's about two men fighting for how the story of WWE is told. Is it ruled by the privilege of birthright and fear, or by the refusal to quit, no matter the odds? Today, Roman Reigns stands as one of WWE's longest-reigning champions of the modern era. Owens, meanwhile, drifts from feud to feud, but when the tribal chief's crown is threatened, it's almost inevitable that the prizefighter will show up, fist-staped, ready to swing. And every time he does, you can sense that same stubborn belief in the crowd. Maybe, just maybe, Kevin Owens will finally land that knockout punch that the dynasty can't dodge. In the end, that's why their rivalry still crackles with electricity. It reminds us that wrestling is at its best when it feels real. Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens aren't just born rivals, they're living proof that some battles are never really won or lost. They're just waiting for the next round. And when that bell rings again, you can bet the WWE Universe will be right there, ready to believe that this time, the underdog might just conquer the king.